We are live. This is Emil Fisher with another episode of the BCTL podcast. Today I have my good friend Timothy Morthland. How you doing today, Morthland? For anyone that doesn't know, Tim runs the Midwest circuit of Fuji as the grappling circuit, the grappling tournament circuit, and also runs a company. Is it Before the Grind, Beneath the Grind?
Yep, Back to the Grind. Yep.
I've been racking my brain all day of what that actually means. So Tim, how did you get started with Jiu-Jitsu? How long have you been training for? I know you've got some competitive accomplishments under your belt. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yes, I mean, so I started out with wrestling when I was pretty young. Went all the way through college. Couldn't figure out, what to do with all my competitiveness after I'd gotten married and moved and all that stuff. So I started training down at the Hoist School, Three Rivers, down in Paducah, Kentucky. Eli Knight and all those guys. And then several years after that was back in 2010. I'd moved all over the place in that between military duty and trying to find a job that I would actually use my education. I lived in Louisville and trained at Chris Griffin's for a while. Went back to Paducah, trained there again. And then in 2014, I moved home, which is Central Illinois. My dad was having some heart problems, and I decided it was best that we move back. My home academy at that time was like 5.5 hours away. I had been visiting J.W. Wright's school down in St. Louis quite a bit, became really good friends with him and a lot of his students, and then switched over there in about early 2016. And I've been under Jay and Gracie Humaida since 2016.
That's awesome. And what are some of your higher competitive accomplishments? I know you took third at Masters Worlds.
Yep, was third at Worlds. That's about it. Last year I was 26-1. Kind of just going and competing where I could. This year, going well. Been getting some great competition. Obviously, everybody knows the season is getting cut a little short here. So
yeah, it's tough, man. Being in the tournament business, tell me a little bit about how this COVID-19 deal has affected you.
Man, it's crazy. Most like most other tournament owners, this is our livelihood. So it's been very challenging, just like every gym owner that's out there right now. It breaks my heart every day. Between my couple of my Facebook pages, I have close to 12,000 people on there, a lot of gym owners, and it's really sad to see all these gyms struggle. I'm fortunate each year I get to visit anywhere from 70 to 100 schools. Between my two regions, there's about 1,200 schools in those 10 states, or within a reasonable distance of traveling to those states. And, that's probably where it affects me. I'm a super social person. I love to meet new people. So to not be able to go out and train at the different schools, I don't know. It's just hard on everybody. It's a difficult time, and hopefully we can get back to it here soon and start grinding.
Yeah, for sure. I know that you've got tournaments scheduled in the not too distant future. When's the next event scheduled for Fuji?
So the next one that I'm planning on running, I have two in Pennsylvania, which is Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Currently on the website, I do have my June tournament still up, which they're going to get removed in the next couple of days. With everything shut down, most venues are not considered essential, so they're getting a little bit difficult to get hold of to reschedule events. So I've kind of been waiting until the event's rescheduled to send out an email and so on and so forth. So hoping July. I'm optimistic about it, but it's really going to depend on the areas. Pennsylvania is a little bit harder hit state. They have a little bit more strict policies. One of the things that I'm going to try to do, so obviously my margin of profit is depends on how many competitors I have, venue costs. There's a ton of different expenses. So here recently, I was able to find a pretty good job working as a millwright and welder that I think I can sustain for a little while. So my goal is going to be for the better part of this year is to find a way to give my profit for the tournaments back to the jiu-jitsu schools that support it to help them all get back on track. So hopefully we can start that up in July and just see how it goes. Just going to depends on state by state.
Yeah. One of the things that I always find fascinating, because there's a lot of different personalities in the tournament running industry, and it is an industry. There are, you got your peers, I know you've got Grappling Industries is probably the most active current circuit. You got Naga. Then there's kind of regional circuits. I know in the Ohio region, you've had to contend with some of the local players like Dustin Ware, and I know you've had conversations with guys that run one-off tournaments in the Toledo area. So I know that you've got kind of your, not necessarily competition, but peers. And you hear kind of different descriptions of the industry from different people. What are some of the misconceptions that you run into as far as tournament promotion? I know, like, there's a common misconception that, tournaments are overpriced, or that they're really, they're in it for themselves. One thing I think about you is that of all the people that I know that promote tournaments, you're one of the good ones.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, and I thought this way back when I was younger in jiu-jitsu and when I was not in the position I am, but tournaments are very expensive, especially for, active competitors that want to go do it every weekend. And, there's a lot of expenses to them, from on my aspect. So it's great to get people to come in and support. One of the things that, I would like to, kind of push out is everyone thinks that, they come to a tournament, whether it be a local tournament, this and that, and they think it's worlds. They're going to go out and literally try to kill each other. And, for me, and I'm still an active competitor, I just want people to go out there and learn. I know I'm like this. You and I have had this conversation multiple times, but if I can go out there and find one mistake that I make every time and go back to the gym and fix it, then, that's success. Other than that, I mean, there's not really a lot of hidden secrets. I mean, the goal is to go to an area, run a good tournament, get people mat time. A lot of times at my tournaments, I tell the kids, tell the adults, if you want to jump up a skill level, if you want to jump up a weight division and compete in multiple divisions, please do. Because, at the end of the day, I'm very appreciative of everybody's support, and I want to make sure they get the value. Like I said, anyone that's competed knows that it's expensive to go to a tournament. Come get your mat time, learn what you need to fix, and see y'all next time I'm around.
Yeah, it's tough because I know that having both competed and refed at your tournaments, I know that you do your best, but you run into many pitfalls just in the very nature of the business. Like, yes. When you have a tournament that is either I remember you had one day in sorry, I'm looking at the comments here. We got some comments already coming in. If you look at, for example, we had an event, I think, down in Akron where half your staff just kind of vanished middle of the day. And just stuff like that where it's like it's completely out of the promoter's hands, but it's going to reflect poorly on the promoter.
Yeah. So, a lot of times I let my people compete. If they want to work the event, a lot of people come and work for me or do different things because, they don't have the money to go every weekend. So, I can alleviate that financial strain a little bit. Part of it's probably a communication error on my part. But some people, they just disappear. So yes, it's a challenge. And each event I try to schedule a few extras and then I float. Usually if you see me sitting at a table, there's probably something better that I should be doing, but I don't have a problem being there. Actually, sometimes it's a relief to be at the table because that might be the only time I actually get to sit down and watch jiu-jitsu for the day. Usually I don't even get to watch the super fights. I'm over with dad bracketing or taking care of this problem or that problem. And I think your last super fight, I think it took me 3 weeks to finally watch it. So yeah, I mean it's challenge and there's an art and a science to it, but you just got to be able to run on the fly. You've seen how we've had to fix things on the fly and different things like that. So
we got two questions from David Ryan Brown.
Yeah.
One of them has already been answered. David was asking when the tournaments are going to be back on. Tim, what was the date again on your next?
So my first two that I'm trying to start up again are in July. They'll be Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. I have the Ohio State Championship scheduled the first weekend in August. I'm spread over 10 states, so I'm kind of just flying all over the place. It's just going to be dependent on if your state allows me to run tournaments at that time. So the earliest be in July.
Are there going to be any new guidelines or any new things that you put in place?
There is, I'm sure. We've Jay and all of them, the corporate folks, have been working on that. It's being a medic. I've been a medic since I was 18. We kind of know what we need to do, but it's really going to be on a state per state basis. It's really hard to follow some of the specific guidelines that are currently in place because obviously it's a contact sport. You're not going to go out there.
It's more than a contact sport. Like, I've heard said that, it's a jiu-jitsu mat is the only thing worse than a jiu-jitsu mat at this point is probably a brothel.
Yeah. But see, I mean, by nature, we're, gyms, tournaments, they're clean. I mean,
I don't know about all that. I mean,
most of them should be,
Well, I mean, even I have never seen a competition mat cleaned.
Really?
I've never seen it happen.
Man, we use the Kennedy stuff and it works pretty good. Now, I will say the stuff, so we usually power wash ours. I'm fortunate to have a farm where my dad lives at, and we pull out all the mats pretty often and power wash them off. But I will say on our mats, the yellow's a little hard to keep clean. But yeah, they do good. I mean, like I said, sanitized, we clean them, and we're going to do the best we can and follow state guidance and continue from there.
Yeah, I believe that you're going to do the best you can. I hope that other tournament circuits are going to do the best they can. I hope that we don't see this get prolonged any more than it needs to be.
Right.
Because I think that there's an inherent risk with all things. And I don't remember reffing one of your tournaments and not having some sort of upper respiratory nonsense the next day. Yeah, every single
in the 4 years I've done it, I've had it once, and I
really?
was yeah.
You had a cold the next day. That's it.
No, it wasn't even that. I actually, for any of the folks that were in West Virginia in January, I woke up in the morning of the tournament. My dad and a couple of the guys that travel with me were like, "Hey man, have you checked your temperature?" So I'd been running a little bit of a temperature. And that morning before the tournament, they were like, "Hey, are you okay? Have you checked your temperature? You're acting kind of funny." It's like, "Oh yeah." Popped it in my mouth, my thermometer, and I had like 104 temp. So they drove to the tournament with the windows down to cool me off. It was like 32 degrees in West Virginia at the time. And I laid in my truck and packed my head and neck in ice while my dad and everybody else went in and ran my tournament for me.
You got the worst fucking luck, man.
I know, right?
You got
so yeah, that was pretty wild.
Right now, you got the worst luck.
Man, I've been hit by cars. Yeah, but you know, regardless of how bad your luck is, man, you just gotta get back up and keep going.
Yeah, we got Chasey Brooch here. We got Chasey Brooch saying that he misses you.
Hi, Chase.
Chasey Brooch. But yeah, we also got another question from David Ryan Brown. He's asking, if there is a specific fight a black belt wants to help, are you open to putting together super fights?
Yeah, so what I do, so there's a couple reasons why I do super fights. One, because so before the tournament, there's always a time people are just sitting there and waiting. So what better time to display great jiu-jitsu if people are just sitting there? So one, it gives something people to watch. Two, there's always people looking to build their resume. So, they can come out, I can set them up a fight. A lot of the coaches, if they have a lot of their team coming, man, they may not have time to compete during the day. So if I set them up a super fight, their students get to watch them compete. They get their mat time, and then they can concentrate the rest of the day on their tournament and their kids and adults. The last reason would be there's a lot of people that have a hard time finding matches. Bobby Joe Ridenour, she helps me a ton. She's my business partner with the B2G coffee stuff, along with my wife. But she's a 105, 110 pound purple belt. She goes to the average tournament. If she does get a match, most of the girls are going to be 20, 30 pounds larger. So that gives me an opportunity to post on Facebook. Everyone gets on there and tells me their age, their weight, their school, belt color, all that stuff. I throw this huge list together, and I start looking at people that would have a hard time coming to our tournament and finding matches or something that would be entertaining, and then while they're there, they get to compete the rest of the day. So yeah, just watch. I run 2 different Facebook pages, one for my Midwest region, one for my Eastern region. And every once in a while, I'll put up, hey, super fights for this tournament, go. I leave it up there about a week before I even start pairing people up. If you want to help me out a bunch, if there's a specific person that they've been wanting to go against that I can pair them up with, man, just send me a name, and what I'll do is I'll reach out to that person and see if we can get matches set up.
Yeah, I mean one of the things that I always appreciate about your tournaments is that you do seem to genuinely do your best to give people an experience, and kind of a cool story that I've got. I don't even know how many people know about this, but you had a kid that his house burnt down, so you sent him some medals that to replace the ones that he lost in the fire, like shit like that. I feel like there's not many promoters that care that much about their competitors.
Yeah, it's not. It's so at the end of the day, I have to make my bottom dollar. I have to be able to pay my bills so that I can keep running my business.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is not everything is about money. To me, I had extraordinary help through my jiu-jitsu career, and I want to use Chris Griffin as an example. Chris Griffith runs a school down in Louisville, Kentucky. So back in 2006, my grandfather committed suicide. Had a super hard time with it. Didn't even really notice it until I went to what was called an Army MRT class, which is Master Resiliency Trainer, and walked out of that realizing that I had a problem, that I wasn't handling something how I wasn't handling that how I was supposed to. So at the time I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings and then a marketing job, business sales and marketing. Chris kind of took me under his wing. I didn't really have any money to train. I didn't have time to train. And man, he just pulled me in and helped me out. Let me come train whenever, anytime I could help him with the wrestling, I did, and so forth. And, over the years, I've constantly had people that have, shown me that kind of love and respect. So I want to make sure that, if I have the opportunity to do it, that I can. I try to set so much money aside from each tournament so that when I see stuff like that, I don't usually like to throw it out on social media or anything because I want that person to have their privacy, but community is super important to me. So, that's like, there was some folks that had lost their gi a while back, and I, just shipped them one, because it's important to me. It's more important for that kid to train than it is for me to, have an extra $100. I can, go out and Uber or go work as a millwright, whatever. But I just want to see people succeed, and anyone that needs help, I hope that they know that, they can reach out to me, and if they do, and I have the means to help them, I will.
Yeah, that's I think a thing that, as much as we hear about a lot of the nonsense that goes on in the jiu-jitsu world and the world at large, I feel like one thing that I've seen you do time and again with your tournament series is you do your best to make it do some good for somebody. Speaking of which, tell me about the B2G Coffee Company. How'd you get that started? What are you doing with it? I know that this is something that I've been seeing pop up more and more on social media.
Here about a year and a half ago, I help out with a couple different wrestling programs, clear from little kids up through high school. And kind of the consensus that I was getting is funds were getting cut so much that we are going to have to cancel some stuff, or it was difficult for different organizations to run different things, or get new mats, things like that. So I started a coffee company with the sole purpose of doing fundraisers for non-for-profit schools, veterans, and athletes. And how we set it up is to where, like, a wrestling team, a theater program. I even have some jiu-jitsu kids teams that are, they go out and sell it, just like what you would think of a normal fundraiser. You take the sign-up sheet to grandma and grandpa and everybody else, collect the money. We deliver all the bags to them, and then they get all the profit. And then people can get on and sign up for a monthly coffee subscription. And that's money that goes back to that program every month, all year round, regardless of whether they're in session or not. So my goal over time was to build a reoccurring income for all these different programs. Just like jiu-jitsu, wrestling was my saving grace. I had exceptional wrestling coaches all through my life. In fact, I was very fortunate. There was 3 of them. They're the Clary brothers. I had both brothers and their father as a wrestling coach from the time that I moved to Illinois clear through high school. And I still talk to them consistently. Great guys. But if it hadn't been for wrestling, man, I'd have been in all kinds of trouble. I was already in trouble. But I would have been in a lot more. And, I want to make sure that these programs continue to have funding to develop and give something for kids to do.
That's awesome. Where do you source the coffee from? How'd you get all that?
So I have a company that I'm working through out on the West Coast. They import it. Our first blend is a single source from Colombia. It's a medium dark roast that we just call the Champions Blend. So the company, they sent us like 40 samples, and we went through. They kind of told us what they were, but they didn't. We went through and picked the one that we liked the most, and it just happened to be that one. There was 3 of us: myself, my wife, and Bobby Joe. Excuse me. And so we picked that, got everything done. So they import it, roast it, grind it, bag it, and label it for us. We're looking at here soon doing a double caffeinated. So all the names are going to be kind of revolve around combat sports. So the next one is going to be, double caffeinated. I'm going to call it the Blast Double. Things like that.
That's a really good name. That's a really good name.
Now, mind you, I'm kind of being a smart ass on one of them. I intend to get a light roast and call it the guard puller, just because I like to laugh about boys. As effective as it is. Just coming from a wrestling community, when I first started, I was like, why would anyone jump down and do that? Which obviously I get it now, but it's always kind of been a standing joke with me and my friends. So,
what, pulling guard?
Yeah. I always tell people if I pull guard, I'm signaling for help, and you need to call an ambulance.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about that.
Just my wrestling background. I actually love stand up. And as a bigger guy, I don't particularly. My guard. I'm short. I'm 5'5", 220 with a 28-inch inseam. So most people in my weight division, man, if I can even touch like my big toes together, that is considered a very good closed guard for me. My overall goal is to not be on bottom and stand back up. I'm starting to get some decent stuff now.
How are your knees, Tim?
My knees are shot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all from Jiu-Jitsu. Like I said, I've been hit by a car several times.
Right.
Wrestling since I was very young. Played rugby in college, so that I'm sure that didn't help. And then I've been in the Army for almost 10 years.
I bring that up. So here's the thing. I have wrestled in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever seen me execute a takedown on one of your mats at one of your tournaments.
No, I don't think I have.
I honestly don't fucking bother with it. Not because I can't. And wrestling is something I plan on working for, specifically for my hopeful run at ADCC. I'm going to try to do the ADCC trials next year. Or this year, rather, if it's still happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but the point that I'm making is that I have a basic concept of what wrestling is and how to do it. Mm-hmm. However, the rules of your fucking tournament they don't incentivize fighting for that position.
I like those takedown points.
Yeah, I guess.
But
until you come up against somebody who's a better wrestler, or you fuck up your knees trying to do something that wasn't meant to be done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's one thing I'm fortunate. And so one of the reasons why my knees are so bad is because when I was younger, I didn't understand the importance of protecting them. Just like most young people do. Starting to learn it in my 40s. My dad's standing joke with me is I'm gonna be in trouble when I get his age, and honestly, he's probably legit 100% right.
We got a comment from my friend Clayton Bigsby. Clayton, you're a joke. Sorry, continue.
Maybe that should be your next challenge, Emil. Maybe for your next super fight, your challenge is to get a takedown.
I've gotten takedowns before. Actually, come to think of it, I did. I hit Asumi Gaeshi off of Kimura against one of your referees at the Akron Fuji when everything.
Akron, yeah, I think I remember that.
I had Asumi Gaeshi with the Kimura trap. I do it. Here's the thing. It's a lot of fucking effort. It really is.
It is.
It's a lot of work. In competition, I'm not looking to work.
I tell people that I fight like the third monkey trying to get on the arc and stand up because I don't want to be on bottom. And then, like I said, I'm getting more comfortable.
I'll fucking try to choke you. Fuck you. That's it. It's like, okay, you want to be on top? Be on top. I'd rather be on top. I prefer it.
Yeah.
I prefer, if I have to choose, if you tell me, you want to pull or do you want to pass, I'd rather pass.
Personally. Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like I got more options. I can drop back for a leg lock and pull them into my guard if I'm not comfortable with what's going on, or I can, attack from the top. Whereas if I'm on bottom, that binary is reduced to 1.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I just, at some point, and I've been working it really hard since I came back from my last surgery. But I've been, doing a lot of situational sparring and being on the bottom. Starting to get there. Just like everything takes time, and maybe someday I'll be comfortable pulling guard in competition. Just not quite there yet.
We have a mutual friend, Joe Bays.
I'm sure. I'm sure we have a lot of mutual friends.
We have a lot of mutual friends. We have one specific one. Have you ever rolled with Joe?
So I rolled with Joe as a blue belt. Excuse
Okay.
me, brown belt. I was a blue belt. And then so.
Well, there's no way you rolled with Joe when he was a brown belt, because I think he was a brown belt before you started training.
Me?
When did you start training?
2010.
And you got your blue belt when? 2011?
I would have to look.
I think Joe got his black belt like 2011, 2012.
It was really early. I might have just gotten it. So there's a guy up here that was under Just Johnson at the time.
Okay.
That was, they were teammates.
Anyways, the point is, if you were to compete against Joe, would you really fucking want to be in that man's guard?
It doesn't matter what position I would be in with Joe. Either way, I'm probably getting my leg ripped off. So I would probably go for the takedown just to say that I got one.
Fair enough.
If I got one.
Fair enough.
And then
I just bring that up because, like, watching him, I feel like he's got a very, very high finishing rate from his guard. So even if I were an elite wrestler, I wouldn't want to take him down.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, I'm not going to put. So, like I said, Joe's very, very well rounded. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I already know that I'm weak. I'm going to go to my strongest side. So, regardless of what I do to Joe, Joe's going to take my leg home with him.
That's a fair point. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I mean, I'm just going to do what I do and try to keep my body intact.
Yeah, I just bring that up because of all the people that I know, Joe's got the fucking, like, he's got, when I felt him pull guard on me, I was like, nope, no, anything but this, nope.
So one of the things that I've been blessed with Fuji is I get to visit a ton of academies.
Yeah.
And you're talking about wanting to work more on wrestling. If you ever get to go up to the Pittsburgh area, which I know you're a lot closer to Pittsburgh than I am.
Matt Factory?
Yes. Yeah. Isaac Greenlee. Goodness gracious.
So here's the thing. I've actually been meaning to get out there. I've heard nothing but good things. I get good vibes off of Isaac. I don't know the guy very well. I've met him briefly.
Awesome dude.
He seems like it. I know he's got some very good wrestlers there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've got a pool of elite wrestlers at Strong Style.
You do, yes.
I've got guys that I train with that are on par with anybody that Greeley has at his place.
So I'm a huge person just in general of cross training.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm from Central Illinois, man. There's tons of wrestlers around here. I mean, and good wrestlers. In fact, the coach down the road here that I went to high school with, man, he went to Laura's, did great. Him and I used to beat the brakes off of each other in high school, and he'll still get out on the mat and work with me. Both my wrestling coaches went to Laura's. But everyone does something just a little bit different.
Sure.
And
yeah. But I mean, you also are willing to drive for very far distances for training.
Say that again.
You're willing to drive far distances for training.
Yeah. Usually it's not. I mean, my home academy is 3.5 hours away.
Right. What did I just say? You're willing to drive far distances for training.
Yeah.
3.5. Yeah. I don't think I've ever. I think that if there was like a seminar that I wanted to go to, but it was 3.5 hours away, I wouldn't go. Like, my limit is a 2-hour radius from my house, and even that, like, there has to be a special fucking reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily drive that, just for any reason. Like, usually it has to be. I'm on the road, like this year I had 40 tournaments scheduled. I mean, so I was fixing to be on the road anyway. So what I try to do, I can only drive for so long in a given time. So I would just stop and train. I can tell you, last December, one of the tournaments seminars I really wanted to go to was Gordo. He was doing 2 different ones down in Louisville in the same weekend.
When you say Gordo, you mean Gordon Ryan, or you mean like Gordo, like the half guard guy?
The half guard guy.
Okay.
So, for that one, man, I got to train with him. down at the Gracie Adventure Camp in November, and I would have most definitely driven the 5.5 hours it took me to get down there. Other times it's just a matter of where I am. For example, like in January, we were running the Philadelphia tournament, and Galvao was in Philly at Christian's. And one of the guys that travels with us, I sent him to the tournament. I've been fortunate. I've had the opportunity to train with Galvao a couple times. Went on a cruise with him back in 2015, but our buddy didn't. One of the guys that travels with us all the time. Well, it was one of them that did the private with you, and it was great for him to go see it. You should see the kid's eyes light up when he got to stand there and take a picture with Galvao. So, that it just depends on where we are.
So, what are some of your favorite seminars that you've been to?
That's a good question. There were a bunch of the Gracie Adventure Camp ones that were really good. They break them down in like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Let's see, who was it that we just went to? Man, he's from Colorado. He's one of the Easton black belts out in Colorado.
Combs?
What's that?
Combs?
No, I'll think of it here. Big old boy.
Elliot Marshall?
No, I'll think of his name. I'm horrible with names. But his one,
he's probably their best guy, if I had to guess.
I'll think of it. Huddleston. His last name's Huddleston.
Huddleston. Oh, Alex Huddleston.
Alex. There you go. Man, that seminar, Jay brought him in, and we did a little like team seminar with him. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be working on worm guard." And I'm like, "Man, I'm like 220 pounds, no flexibility."
Just 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Keep talking.
Yeah. But that was probably my favorite seminar so far. I learned so much. Like it more so opened up my eyes to like maybe what I was capable of. Man, what was the other one? I enjoy Megaton seminars. He's always been super kind to me every time I've been there. I play a lot of side control. He helped me a ton with my side control. Nick Schrock, they call him Moose. He's under Hubiero now, but he's does an awesome seminar. Love his. Gianni Grippo was I enjoyed his a lot too, because of the sequencing. So I mean, each of them have kind of had their own things, and kind of what they've meant to me.
Are you more of a moves-based learner, or do you prefer concepts?
I'm still working on the concepts part. I mean, there's still some stuff that I watch that I'm like, oh, how in the hell did he do that? It's gotten better over the years, obviously, because I train a lot and travel. I'm more of a moves guy, though.
I was gonna say because what you just described to me, and I don't know all the guys you just described as far as the teaching style, but I've seen videos of some of them, and they teach moves. I can't. I fucking can't. I can't with moves.
Yeah, so I like Gianno's, especially as a younger jiu-jitsu practitioner, because it was sequenced. Like, man, he did step 1 and step 2. You went and practiced it. You came back. He did step 3. You went back and did the whole sequence. So that was great. Then Alex, I'll tell you what, Alex Huddleston's seminar, he had so many theories and concepts in there. Especially, I was probably one of the lower belts at that. And when he was answering questions, like it was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome, man. I feel like your job carries a lot of disadvantages. I feel like you have a thankless, difficult job very, very often. But that side of it, the fact that you get that kind of exposure is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I spend over 100 hours per tournament before we even walk into it.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, like seeing kids, standing up on the podium, that's awesome. That's probably one of my favorite things. Especially the real little ones. Like I think it's up in Michigan. We have like a 4 or 5 year old that comes out, and every year impresses me. Some of these veterans that come out that have one limb, or even if they're fully in contact, their body, they'll see me with my haircut or something, or I always tell everyone, I'm usually the medic at all my events.
Hmm.
So I kind of give people my history so that they know I'm not just like walking up there with a medic bag. So I get a lot of these veterans that'll come down and sit next to me and sit there and talk to me about stuff, and that's one awesome thing. That that's the thanks that I get. You know,
Yeah.
knowing that someone that can call me and be like, "Hey, man, I'm having a hard time with this. You got time to talk?" Yeah, yeah, I do. Or every once in a while, I'll have a parent reach out to me and be like, "Hey, you know what? I don't quite have enough money for my kids to compete. Can I come work?"
Yeah.
And more often than not, financially, that's a horrible decision. But when I turn around and they're sitting there yelling at their kid on the edge of the mat, and you see the look on the parents' face, how they're happy, and the kids that go up on the podium, and whether they go up there and they won, or they went out there and just got their ass beat. We've all been there,
Yeah.
and it's that's where it's at, man. I mean, that's that's the biggest reward,
For sure.
trying to. And things were getting better. One thing that I have to give a huge shout out to corporate, Fuji corporate, man, they're constantly working on problems. One thing that we do, and I don't know if you've ever gone with us to dinner after a tournament, but one thing we try to do, um, sorry, grabbed the wrong side of the phone, is after every tournament, if time permits, which in most cases it has, we go down and we have people from different positions throughout the whole tournament, including my dad, my father, uh, excuse me, my dad, my wife, table workers, refs, setup crew, tear down, and we kind of go over, what went good, what went bad, what needs fixed. So then we
Yeah.
sit down, me and my dad and Steph, and we go over what we can fix. And then we take it and we send the rest of it up to the corporate, be like, "Hey, man, it'd be nice if, we'd be able to do this." And, I know nothing about coding. Like you throw that in front of me, it's a completely foreign language. But I can be like, "Hey, Vince, can you add this?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, man. It's going to take me some time, but I can do it." And they all still work full-time jobs, or they run academies, or both. And they still have time to answer my questions. Or
Are you planning on expanding your reach in Fuji and taking over more regions?
probably not at this point. And the reason is because there's only so many weekends in a year. I run everything with one trailer. So right now I do Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, which is my original region. And then at the beginning of January, I picked up both the Carolinas, both the Virginias, and Maryland. So I'm pretty packed full right now. I try to run 3 to 4 tournaments per state per year. There's some exceptions. For example, like West Virginia, you know, 2 a year would be great for them. Maryland, maybe 2 or 3 a year. But I want to make sure that I'm giving everyone in each one of the states equal chance of being like ranked first through Fuji. Um, Not only that, but I've kind of changed my scheduling a little bit because there's so many tournament series, and I don't want people just to compete in Fuji. Um, so what I've done is I've tried to rearrange things to where at no given time do I have to ask an academy to support me more than twice a year. Because and I sat down and talked to owners of this. Man, gym owners are busy. Like if you think I'm the one that has a thankless job, man, go look at your gym owner that runs a school every day. I mean, they're busy.
Yeah,
And they do it. A lot of it, some of them are, making decent money from it, but a lot of them they're just doing it because, they have the passion for it. So that's the thankless people. I think only maybe a dozen times in 8 years have I had someone charge me for a mat fee when I travel. They just want me to come have fun and train and meet new people, and
We got a question from Brian Briegel.
Yeah.
Brian is asking which states have the biggest turnouts and which are more competitive. Looks like Tim dropped off. We're going to wait until he comes back on here. For anybody who's interested in tuning in, I've got Jake Shannon coming on tomorrow evening, and we've got Justin Reeder coming on Friday evening. So you dropped off there. I don't know if you heard.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
That's fine. You hear the question?
No, I didn't.
Okay. What states do you see the biggest turnouts in, and which is the most competitive state as far as where do you see the best matches?
So right now my Midwest region, it's my more developed region. Our Michigan State Championship that we usually have in June, that one's pretty awesome, which I know you guys have come to.
I haven't. I have not.
No, Brian has. Michigan does really well. It all depends on all my states this year I've ran record tournaments. This year our January tournament in Lansing was my record for Michigan. Kids, I'll tell you what, one team that's really hard to beat for kids is SAS there in Cleveland. Man, that's a little powerhouse that they got there.
I was just thinking about Ray Terry.
Yeah.
Ray Terry's academy, the RTSC training center, for anyone that that doesn't know, if you're in the Cleveland area or really just passing through or whatever, Ray's a fantastic coach. And it's funny because he comes off as very gruff, but he's one of the nicest people.
He is. Yeah, he's awesome. And you see a big variation or a big difference in state from gi to no gi. For example, like around here, there's not many schools that train a lot of no gi. So you see a lot of gi competitors that are a little bit more prevalent around here. In Ohio, man, you guys got a decent little crew for no gi, especially up in the Pittsburgh area, you guys. So it really just depends on state by state. I'm
not the best leg locker in the Midwest or anything, but
yeah. I'm trying to think. Ohio, I have some of the best women turnout.
Interesting.
Upper belts, anyway. That one Akron tournament that we had, we've hit on, I think I had 4 or 5 female purple belts. That was 2 years ago?
Shit, I don't even remember.
I think it was 2 years ago. Every year we run 1 or 2 events. This year I'm running 2 events at the National Corvette Museum down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that one has really good upper belt female turnout. And that's exciting to me. It used to be female purple belts were like my kryptonite. I would have one show up.
I'm pretty sure you could beat them up.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe. I'd have a female purple belt show up, and I couldn't find them a match. There would only be one. Yeah, I know you would. And now, we're starting to see more and more with females. You're starting to see. So I will say Michigan, as far as upper belts, has been my best state for upper belts. Not only for women, but masters. You get a lot of masters up there. A lot of the black belts are starting to reach out to me in different states now. Hey, man, can you find me a super fight? I just want to get some mat time. So
Yeah,
that's getting more exciting too in most states.
that's interesting. Brian also was asking, and Brian, no, you did not miss this. He's asking, how did you get started running with Fuji? I don't think we ever discussed this. How did you get
No, we
started?
didn't. So back in the day, I couldn't even tell you what year it was. Maybe 2014. 2014. Yeah, somewhere around there. Jay had made a post about wanting to expand Kozen. It was before it was Fuji BJJ.
It was called what?
Before it was called Fuji BJJ, it was called Kozen Fighter.
Oh, okay. That's where that
And
was.
he had made a post that he was wanting to expand that. And I had replied. He'd asked kind of some different criteria. And he had reached out to me. And so I went and started helping him run tournaments, started learning about it. I'd already been to his place a couple times, so I had met him and everything. Started traveling to their tournaments. So in the meantime, him and Vince had met with Lee Hitachi from Fuji Sports, and they had decided to do a partnership and franchise out and everything. But then it took me a while. So I had about a year and a half where financially it took me about that much time to save up enough money to buy into Fuji. So in that time, I had spent time traveling to tournaments, learning directly from Jay, a bunch of his upper belts on how to do different things. I had never reffed before, at least Jiu-Jitsu. I'd done it with wrestling. So in the meantime, when all that was happening, my mother passed away. Had to take some of that money for her end of life expenses. So working a couple different jobs, going out and Ubering at night. Finally saved up enough money till we got close. My dad put his farm equipment up as collateral. So we farm, we do hay and alfalfa. And for us to get the last little bit of it, Dad put up all of his farm equipment as collateral for me to franchise, to start a company and franchise. And that was 2016, I believe. So I bought in May 2016, ran normal Illinois. That wasn't part of my states, but it was my hometown. So Jay let me run my first tournament there. And then the next one was that first Lansing tournament that everybody came to. So, and then it's just kind of developed from there. I went from 4 states to 5 states to 10 states.
Wow. It's awesome, man. I never knew about the farm equipment collateral. That's really, I always noticed that you and your dad have really a special relationship.
We do. Man, I couldn't ask for a better dad. He's been there for everything. For as long as I can remember. There's, my parents, between my parents and my wife, I couldn't have any bigger support. My dad's actually been to more of my tournaments than I've been to. He's never missed a single tournament. And I've missed 3 for military duty. Does all the maintenance on the trailers, the trucks, does anything and everything for me. So, I mean,
he's probably proud of you. He probably sees what you're doing. He probably sees that you're really doing something good with it.
Man, he's always been like that. I didn't find out till much later in life that even back when I was in middle school, my dad had to go take out a loan from the bank to send me to a wrestling camp.
Oh shit.
So it's something I didn't know about as a kid, but that I can truly appreciate as an adult. And I got 3 little ones. I got a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And man, if I can be half the dad that my dad was, I would be super happy.
Chasey Brooch is saying that he wears flannels everywhere, even during the summer.
He does, yeah. You don't see him outside of flannels very often. Even when we're baling hay and he's up in the tractor, he usually has a flannel on. Now it might be a short sleeve flannel, but yeah, it'd be a flannel.
That's awesome. So Brian's asking another question, Briegel. Why is the cutoff for super heavy so low at Fuji?
Super heavy? I don't know. It's just how they bracket them. They put them in brackets, and I pretty well just do what I'm told when it comes to that stuff. Honestly, Brian, I don't have a good answer for you. I usually compete at 220. Yeah, somewhere around there.
I want to see a match between you and Brian.
I think Brian would beat my brakes off. My last match from Michigan didn't go so hot. That would be a fun match, though. When we get back at it, we might have to do that, Brian.
I'm just saying. I mean, he didn't call you out. I'm just because he's a judoka, you're a wrestler. You both like gi.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Guard.
Yeah.
Interesting fucking match.
Yeah. Man, what was that last fella I went up against up there? He's from downriver. Man, he was good. I think Cody something or other. I'm horrible with names.
Cody McGow?
Yeah, there you go.
I had a match with Cody McGow. I'm going to send it to you when we're done.
Oh, man.
You know what? I might be able to bring it up if you want to watch it. That's always fun.
No. I'll watch it later. You can send it to me. I'll watch. Oh, wrong hand again. Sorry.
We can do some commentary on it. It's quite the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't too fond of my antics.
No, I didn't have anything for him, man.
Was it gi or
good
no
match
gi?
though? Actually, out of all the matches I'd had, even the previous year, that was by far my most challenging match. Like, yeah. I'm so short. I'm not used to people shooting on me, and he had a great shot. Great shot.
Was it a gi match?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's funny because we went against each other in a no-gi match, in a gi match a few years back at Chris Blanky's tournament in Toledo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were in this match, and the ref goes, like, I got him in my close guard. He starts to pass it. I invert. And I get onto a knee bar. This is a blue belt. So I release the knee bar, and I turn back through. And what does that mean? That means I land in the reap. So the ref goes, watch the reap. So I remove my leg from over top, and I put it behind him, and like both my knees are pointing up, and his leg is between my legs. My feet are both behind him. My knees are wedged on either side of his knee. Right? Because the ref goes, watch the reap. I'm like, what reap? And the ref stands me up and disqualifies me. Yeah. So then we had another match just now at a tournament, and I'll send it to you. It was funny. But yeah, so another question that I had for you, as far as traveling around, running these tournaments, what do you think needs to happen for the competitive culture in jiu-jitsu to improve? Do you think that we have too many rule sets? Do you think that pro competition is going in the right direction? What do you think?
I'm not real sure. I know one of the big problems is oversaturation. There's just so many tournaments out there. And not all of us are real good about making sure that, we're not on top of each other and this and that. So I would say that's probably the biggest downfall that I see. I've seen tournaments in some of these bigger cities that, man, they'll run on the same day or the weekend and after, one weekend and then the next. I think Chicago last year, there was like 14 events and 15 weekends, and all of them just kind of sucked. Because the competitive pools get so small that nobody has anybody to go against. So that's probably the biggest issue that I see. The other thing is just some schools, their jiu-jitsu is just really soft. I've been to schools that, there's schools that I walk into, and I walk in there and have a blue belt that beats my brakes off. And then I have some schools that I walk into, and there's brown belts that can't do anything, you know. So, you know, one thing that
Why do you think that is? Like, well, why do you think there is that huge disparity?
there's just so much inconsistency throughout the country, throughout all the different affiliates and this and that. But
Do you
also,
think I feel like the self-defense versus sport?
no, not necessarily. I don't know. I have a strange theory, and I've talked about this with a bunch of different people, and I hate the the what people consider the difference between self-defense and competition. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's just like any other technique. It's all jiu-jitsu, and it's up to you to know when to use it and how. So I know that if I'm in a street fight, pulling guard probably isn't the best thing for me. Or for example, I'll just use this as an example. Like a single leg, if I'm going to do a single leg in a street fight, man, I don't want my knees to hit the ground because they're going to hit concrete. Whereas in a competition, yeah, my knees can hit the ground and I can elevate differently because there's pad there, you know. And in competition, I don't have to worry about as much as far as striking distance management. In a fight, I absolutely have to worry about distance management so I don't get lit up.
And you know, in a competition, you don't have to worry about getting. Well, you only sometimes have to worry about getting stabbed. Whereas
Stabbed, you know, eye gouged or fish hooked, you know, it's just, you know,
they're
all the
less
fun
likely.
things that we don't let people do.
It's less likely in competition.
Touche. Yeah. 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 Much less likely. You know, actually, the first competition that I ever went to, it was, I believe it was Scott Smith's in Louisville. And I mean, I'm pretty rough around the edges now in competition, but back then, man, I was a wrestler. I was one of those guys that I was just pound and ground wrestler, and I didn't know that you couldn't slam people.
Nice.
So here this dude was like, you know, he had me in his guard, and I'm like, man, I can't get this dude off. We screw this, and boom, and you hear the whole gym go, oh, and I'm like, I wasn't supposed to. I looked at the ref. I'm like, I wasn't supposed to do that, was I? He goes, mm-mm. I looked down at the dude. I'm like, hey, are you okay? He goes, yeah. I'm like, you okay to keep going? He goes, yeah. I don't even know who the dude was. I've never seen him again. And I'll never forget that, though. The whole freaking gym was like, oh.
Cute, man.
Huh? Yeah, I know I should have. Oh, by 100% I should have. I think just for the pure fact that he was okay and, you know, but
I would not want to win by disqualification.
No.
Like there was this one time it was Grappling Industries at the Arnold. And I was going, you know James Hunt?
Probably. I'm sure I do.
West Virginia, he's a black belt. He's a South Team black belt, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I do.
Bigger
Man,
guy.
I'm horrible with names.
Anyways, regardless. So I'm up against him at Grappling Industries at the Arnold, and he had just finished demolishing the no-gi absolute that I was in. We didn't go against each other, but he fucking wrecked the entire division and took gold. So, I mean, the guy's not bad.
Yeah.
We run into each other. Mike's brother. I see what you did there, Brian. Anyway, so he's wrecking. He wrecks the division, and he and I are the only two signed up for the brown belt absolute. I'm a purple belt at the time, but I like to compete up. You know this about me. I like to compete up because why not? So we go out there, and he pulls guard and immediately reaps over and goes for a heel in the gi. And I'm like, nope. And the referee's like, what? I'm like, dude, he's heel hooking me in the gi. Can you just tell him to not do that? Just let's continue, but just tell him not to do that. And the referee's like looking up the rules and shit because he doesn't know, because the grappling industry used to allow it in the gi, but they don't anymore.
Right.
And my opponent's apologizing. I'm like, it's fine. I don't want you to get disqualified because that's going to rob me of the ability to beat you fair and square. And then as soon as the referee says go, I ankle lock.
So hey Brian, I want to hit. So you had me thinking here about the different states and everything. So as I've traveled from city to city, major city, and even kind of out in the woods, I would say the best places that I've seen with the best jujitsu are the communities that have very low politics and allow cross training. You know, we got to spend like 5 or 6, maybe 7 days, maybe a whole week in Raleigh, North Carolina, and those schools consistently train with each other, and even people will come over from Charlotte and vice versa. And honestly, probably that's some of the stronger jujitsu I've seen is the schools that kind of leave all the politics aside and say, hey, go train. It's more important for you to train. So you just have me thinking about that.
That is a super interesting perspective, and I'll tell you why I think it's interesting. New York City.
I've never been there.
Okay, so New York City has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the world.
Absolutely.
You got Unity, you got Henzo's, and you got Marcelo's. And you know what you don't see in New York City?
Cross training. Okay, but look at it this way. They already have some of the best in the world. And they have training partners that are the best in the world. So, I mean, that's like me. I'm fortunate. Man, I have Pedigos right down the road. I have a bunch of McVickers down the road. I got my team down the road. But if I was just to sit in a gym and like we have a gym that's about 30 minutes away, and they don't have anybody like that. So either they get stagnant within their gym because they're consistently training with the same people, or actually a bunch of them are starting to get better because they go out and they're like, oh man, on a Sunday I can go to this open mat, and some of the politics are starting to go away in the area. So
yeah,
if you're not at the best gym and you don't have the best training partner, find someone you can train with. That doesn't mean you got to leave your team.
I'll take it a step further. So, like, I train
Okay.
at Strong Style in Cleveland, and Strong Style, in my opinion, in the Cleveland area, has the best no-gi program, the best no-gi grapplers. If I want to get lit the fuck up, Strong Style. But if I'm getting ready for something different, if I'm getting ready for something that requires me to have a different skill set, let's say I'm getting ready for a fight to win match in the gi, I'm going to be spending less time at Strong Style and more time at other gyms because the reality is that if it's a specific style of gi play, I might not have access to that where I train.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's like we got to visit Max Gaminis while we were out in Maryland, and I learned a ton from him. Man, he's not on my team. He's just a good guy, and I reached out to him, and be like, hey man, we're coming through. Can we set up a private with you? And boom, there it was. I think one thing that a lot of people take for granted is the level of jiu-jitsu in their communities. Think back to the days like the black belts that we have now that used to have to drive however far and watch VHS videos and this and that to learn their jiu-jitsu. Man, you can, with the internet now, you can find anything you want. You can, drive down the road probably within an hour of your house and find some, at least decent jiu-jitsu. So that's where I'm kind of coming from. I can drive an hour down the road and find decent jiu-jitsu, and it's different than the place that I train at every day. Now, for me, I honestly need to make it more to my home gym more often. I learn so much when I'm down there. Jay is an amazing instructor. Gives me, life skills. He teaches me stuff outside of jiu-jitsu, in jiu-jitsu. We'll be rolling and he'll be like, hey, why'd you do that? No, don't do that, do this is why. Okay. And I hope that everyone can have that relationship with somebody in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important to have a good relationship with your coach and to actually be able to develop that way. I also think that there's a lot to be said for having a coach that that doesn't get upset if you train at other gyms as well.
Absolutely. Jay's never said anything. There are schools around here. The area that I live in is pretty political when it comes to jiu-jitsu. You don't see much cross training around here at all. We'll get visitors, usually from out of state, that pop in. I know some schools don't allow visitors at all. So that's, from my perspective as a person that travels and trains a lot, that's not good for my area. But there's coaches that I've been at this year. Man, I've got to spend more time with them than I have my own coach. And not once has he ever, been mad at me or even said anything. And the next time I'm down there, he'll be like, "Hey, where'd you learn that?" Or, "Oh, hey, that's pretty slick. Where'd you learn that?" Or, "Oh, here, let me add on to this for you." Like you said, I hope, that's one thing that I think that could expand the competition scene is cross training. Because, like I said, I'm a little different. I'm always on the road. One of the guys that I work with, and one of my good friends, his name's Jonas. He lives down around Memphis, in kind of the Mississippi area, but works up here. And he travels and trains, and he's kind of the same way as I am. And I know that's super important to him too. Letting people that'll let us come in and train.
Like it's funny. I asked my coach one time, like when I first joined the gym, I was like, "Hey, are you okay with me cross training? Are you okay with me going to other gyms locally and out of the area and training with people that may one day be going against, me or one of our teammates?"
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Yeah, it's totally fine. I just have one rule. If you learn something cool, make sure you bring it back and show me."
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Yeah.
It's that simple. It's like I feel like anything short of that, you're robbing yourself. You're robbing your students.
Mm-hmm.
I want the very best jiu-jitsu available to train with.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's going to improve everything, and
Josh LeDuc has a saying that he likes to throw out there. I mean, I'm sure he didn't make it up, but he's the one I've heard say it. He says, "Rising tides raise all ships."
Yep.
So we're at about an hour and 15 minutes here. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good, man. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
What are some of the craziest complaints that you've gotten at your tournaments from the
Man, you get all kinds of stuff. I mean, one of my favorites is it I don't know. It's funny because it always goes both ways. I've had people complain that they've gotten too many matches, and I've had people complain that they've not gotten enough. One of my favorite ones, though, and they were literally 30 seconds apart from each other. One parent complained that their child had gotten too many matches, and then I had literally taken like 5 steps, taken a drink, and a mother came up and hugged me because her children had gotten so many matches that she had a 45-minute drive home, and they were all going to sleep on the way home, and she was going to get 45 minutes of peace and quiet. So, I mean, while I take every complaint, seriously, like, it's a legit concern. Some of them, you're just sitting there like, what? That's probably always my favorite one is people complaining that they got too many matches. And my response is, and somewhat sarcastically, is like, well, you got your money worth, you know. So I would rather see someone tell me that they can't take any more matches because they're worn out, compared to, hey man, I only got, 2 matches and spent all this money. So my favorite complaint.
When I go to a competition, and maybe I approach things a little bit differently than most people, because I have the privilege of being able to, if you're around, come ref for you, and I get to compete for free. And
yeah.
Because I'm a brown belt, I get to compete at Grappling Industries for free, and I'm able to compete more than most. I treat tournaments as open mats, local tournaments. If I'm at your local tournament, I truly don't give a shit if I win or lose, unless it's like a super fight or something like that, where at that point it's like, all right, now this is for the beans, even if it's not for the beans. But I mean, I'm not there to win. I'm not. I'm there to see where, like, for example, it was funny at the last one that you had up here. I had a match in the brown belt division, and I'm working. I at that moment I was under the impression that I had an upcoming catch wrestling match. So what did I do? I did not pull guard when I normally would. I did not do what I normally would, and I wound up losing. And it's like, if that had been a super fight, if that had been a money fight, I would have been pissed. Right. I was still a little bit pissed at myself. Obviously, I don't want to lose, but the reality is that I was trying something that I don't normally do.
Yeah.
Like I would in an open mat. Now, when I go to the other shit, that's what I'm doing my A game.
Your A game, yeah.
And like, I'm assuming it's the same for you when you jump into your tournaments, because you can. It's literally every fucking weekend for you if you want it.
Yeah. So actually, that's one of the complaints that I get, that I compete in my own tournaments every once in a while, and definitely not ever, or always.
No, not always, but you can.
Yeah. I get complaints that, I do let some of my workers compete, but that's why they're there. At the end of the day, we're all jiu-jitsu people. Like, I try to accommodate people, to the best I can, whether they're a worker, a competitor, whoever.
What's the complaint that you get?
Just that I have people working and competing.
And?
They don't, that's just literally it, that I'm letting people compete. So, I take that with a grain of salt.
Just be like, listen, I don't come down to Burger King and tell you how to do your job.
No, it's, it's, and, at the end of the day, my number one priority has to be running a tournament. So if a tournament's running smooth, yeah, you probably see me out and compete. Or if there's a guy that, had a really good match earlier, and I'm like, oh, I want to see how I'll do against him.
Yeah, sure.
I'm, getting ready for competition, big competitions like everybody else.
You're going to use that as your prep zone.
What's that?
You're going to use that as your prep zone.
Yeah, but it's weird, though.
That's like the sandbox.
I would actually more say, though, that running the tournaments has reduced my ability to compete. Because, well, okay, so big picture wise, you figure 40 tournaments a year at 100 hours per tournament and setup.
Oh, that's time you're not training.
Time I'm not training. And then when I'm at a tournament, the tournament has to take priority before I can go and do anything.
Of course, but here's the thing. Statistically speaking, if you're running 40, you said 40 a year?
Yeah.
Okay, 40 a year. Let's say you compete in 1/3 of those.
Right.
1/3 of 40 is still 13 tournaments a year.
Right, but your average competitor that is an actual competitor, I bet they compete way more than that.
More than 13 times a year?
More than once a month.
That is more than once a month.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I bet most of them compete twice a month.
Dude, I compete as often as I can.
Yeah.
I still have a hard time finding 2 a month.
Really?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, let's say, for example, Grappling Industries comes to town.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look on the list. If it's if there's like one other brown belt and I've already beaten him twice, I'm not signing up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That
makes sense.
I'm not going to do it because honestly, like, I feel bad. Like, that's going to sound fucked up, but like I've already. If I like, there's one guy, like, there's a couple of guys in the local area that it's like, yes, we can compete against each other, but the outcome's going to be the same every time.
Right.
And for me, I'm not getting anything out of it. And for you, it's just going to be demoralizing.
Yeah. So, that is definitely one aspect that I have, is that generally when I am.
We got Brian agreeing with me. Regal saying once a month is active unless you're a pro.
Really? Okay. Then, then I definitely do. I do get to compete more than what I thought. I figured most active competitors were competing more than that.
It's hard to do it more than that because most areas don't have more than one tournament a month, and most people are not willing to drive more than 3-4 hours to compete.
Yeah, like where I live, man, there's nowhere to go that's not 3.5 or 4 hours away.
Yeah, like Chicago, I said, you are willing to drive places.
Right. So, but I look at people's schedules pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I see tournaments, there's some areas, there's tournaments 4 or 5 weekends in a row.
Yeah, that's like Philly, New York City.
Pittsburgh.
Not Pittsburgh, no. No.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
They'll have like 2-3 months where there's nothing.
Right. And then when there is, there's freaking 5 of them in a row.
Right, but here's the thing. You still have the same number of tournaments per year. They're just
matched together. Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah, probably the one I will say the advantage that I have is with running them in 10 states, I get a pretty wide variety of competition. Like, it's not often that in fact, I don't know if I've ever really gone up against the same person more than once or twice.
Yeah.
So.
It's tough, man. It's tough, especially like, for me, for like the best example of this, when I really like this, the first time I really did this was when I was prepping for my first match against Joe Bays. What I did was every opportunity I had to compete leading up to that match, I went to those tournaments and I tried to play the game plan that I planned on using against Joe.
Yeah.
In order to like see how people that didn't know me would react to it. And it was funny because like after a while it was just like, I fucking hate this. Like I don't want to do it. But I had to do it because I had to prep.
Yeah.
But it just after a while I would go to these tournaments and be like, there'd be one person I go against 4 times. After the first match of them seeing me do this nonsense, they'd be like, I'm not gonna change my strategy. What the fuck?
Yep. No, I get it.
I don't know. Going against one person 5 times in a day is awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any desire to do that.
Right. Win or lose.
Right. I could see a little bit difference between gi and no gi. Like if you had to go against them, but not over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, like I had one where it was I went against the guy 3 times in a row, and it's like, man, and I'm trying a very specific strategy, and the strategy is not working against him. I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking try a different strategy because this is what I'm doing today. Because I'm losing, and it's like, well, shit.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
So what other questions you got, big guy?
Yeah, we got one more. We got one from Sonny DeBetts. He's saying, ask him about ripping a dude's arm out in Vegas.
I don't even know how to describe it. He went to throw me, and I don't even know what throw it was, to be honest with you. I popped up on my side and somehow ended up dislocating the dude's shoulder. It was pretty wild. It was the same year, actually the same year I blew my knee out.
Nice. Top
Yeah,
notch.
I know, right? So it was pretty wild though. I don't even remember what the fellow's name was now.
Did you keep it?
His arm? No, I didn't keep it.
Why not?
He wanted it back.
But you should have kept it.
I could barely keep my own knee. How am I going to keep someone's arm?
Very carefully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, you know, that was my first time at Worlds. I was a fresh purple belt. Literally by like
You killed
2
it.
months.
Killed it.
Had that match. You know, he, like I said, he went to throw me. Chaz kept making fun of me, one of my teammates, because, you know, being 5'5" and super heavy, everyone looks like a giant compared to me. So he kept calling me the giant killer. Definitely not getting any taller. But yeah, then went into my match. Ended up in deep half and came down weird on my knee. So he went deep half. I stood up, and his hands were positioned below and above my knee. I was trying to force him to stand up with a single because of my wrestling background. And as he did that, he fell, and I ended up snapping 3 ligaments and a tendon in my knee. So that was different. So you know, all the doctors and all that, or whatever they are, the physical therapist folks came out and looked at my knee, and they said it was pretty messed up. And I asked them how much or how long was left in my match, and they said 4 minutes and 6 seconds. And my reply was, well, I can do anything for 4 minutes and 6 seconds.
Wait, I'm confused. You stopped the match to take care of that and then went back to it?
They didn't take me off the mat. They stopped the time. I was down on the ground. They checked my knee out. No stability in it at all.
It's IBJJF. What the fuck kind of bush league shit is this?
They stood me up and gave him 2 points.
Really?
Yeah, so it was 3-2. Finished the match. It ended up so the knee that I had just blown out, he jumped guard to that knee. And nice. So I ended up battling out. We ended up in a position where
strategy, man. He might have finished you right then and there. So that's a smart strategy.
I know, right? If my adrenaline hadn't been like sky high, he probably would have. I mean, but it was interesting. I actually ended up getting the underhook on the far side and tried to pass, and I literally couldn't because I couldn't move my knee. Like there was no stability. Like it would like after my match, it would like wiggle in the air. I couldn't bend it, straighten it, couldn't wiggle my toes, nothing. But so eventually he tried to go belly down, and I tried to catch him in a clock choke. Couldn't finish it, and we stood back up. Couldn't take me down with one leg, but I was definitely not taking him down. So I ended up winning 3-2, and then had, I don't know, some odd amount of advantages. So it was a good year. I wish I could have continued, but yeah, that dude, his arm, like I said, I don't even remember what his name was, but he was a cool dude. He was tall.
You shouldn't have did that to him, poor little feller.
I know, right? It's weird because I don't know what to expect from people because I'm so short. Most people don't shoot on me, and then a lot of people don't try to throw me because I'm so short. My center, they can't get their hips lower than mine. So honestly, I never really know quite what to expect when people are going to come out there and do stuff with me. So that day,
in the gi, I would think the best strategy against you would be to pull closed.
Yeah, probably.
Because you ain't getting out of nobody's closed guard. Too short.
Not easily, no. Not easily, no. I try to prevent closed guard at all costs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're breaking up real bad. Did you move to a different space?
Nope. Still sitting in the same spot.
Tim?
I got 5 bars.
Yeah, you're breaking up real bad. It might be mine. I don't know. Well, Tim, we're just about all out of time here. Tomorrow we've got Jake Shannon coming on. Friday we got Justin Rader. Stay tuned for more announcements. I know Saturday's still up in the air. Sunday, there's going to be a musical guest, and Monday is a movie director. We'll see what's on the horizon over here. Tim, anything else you wanted to talk about before I let you go?
Nope, I'm good, man. Just have a great evening, and hopefully everybody can get back to training here safely and get back on the train.
Awesome, brother. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, bud. Have a great evening.